Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about my thoughts on Scream 6. So I am going to be telling you guys all of my likes, dislikes, or small nitpicks that I have with this film. So just like most of the videos that I've done with this little series, we are going to be talking about the opening scene first and then kind of going from there. So the opening for Scream 6, I think, is another really, really strong one. I do think that that is something that both of the Radio Silence Scream films have in common. I think both of them have really good opening scenes. So in this one, we get kind of like a fake out opening almost. It was just similar to what they did in Scream 4, but it was better executed, even though I do love that movie. I have to admit that here. So we do have Samara Weaving on a first date that she just doesn't know is with Ghostface. And I just have to shout her out. She is just awesome in this, as she is in a lot of the things that I've seen her in. But then we have her actually get into the alley trying to meet up with her date and stuff. And then she realizes that was a mistake, obviously. So we get the kind of common scene that we get in the beginning of all the different Scream films where it seems like it is going to be, where there's a one liner and then we have the character get stabbed and it will immediately cut to the title sequence. But that doesn't happen here. We do get a one liner where he says something like, "Now I see red," or "Now I see something red," something like that. And then we have him stabbing Samara. And then instead of it cutting to the title sequence, instead it just stops and Ghostface takes off his mask. And that just absolutely shook me when I saw that for the first time in the theater. Totally was not expecting that at all. And then we do get to follow this Ghostface, Jason, and he's going back to his apartment, which, side note, I really love a lot of the stuff at the apartment. He is a big horror fan, so we get to see like posters for movies, and we have like a whole area where they have like some stab memorabilia and stuff. So all of that is really cool, and we also get a reference to Jason Takes Manhattan on the TV, which I think is awesome too. But then he gets his own Ghostface call with what will be the true Ghostface of the film. And then we will end up having our actual like title sequence. But I love the one-liner that this Ghostface uses, essentially just saying like that nobody cares about the movies. I'm paraphrasing, so I don't say anything too bad on here. But I really like that part. So now we can move on to talking about our friend group in here. And for this one, we'll go ahead and start with Ethan. He is basically just a nothing character. He does not do anything really of value throughout this movie until the end. And we'll get to that later, of course. But then I want to talk about Quinn. Now, I actually really like her. I just like the actress that plays her. I've liked her in most of the things I've seen her in as well. So I enjoy her character, being the more sex positive friend in the group. She's just very funny and likable. And then we also have Annika, and I like her the most out of the new characters for this one. I think that she's just a really sweet presence to have in here. And I like the chemistry that her and Mindy have together. I like them as a couple. I think they're sweet. But moving on to the core four, we'll start with Chad. So I like where he is at in this one. He seems like he is kind of growing up a little bit. I mean, he's obviously still in a fraternity and, a goofy jock kind of guy, but he's not with Liv anymore. And I think just their relationship in Scream 5, it seemed very high school and like borderline toxic to an extent. So he is moving on from that and he is, interested in Tara throughout this film. So then we also have Mindy, and I did mention that she has a girlfriend, Annika, and I, enjoy her character in this a lot as well. I think that she is just very fun to watch. I like her as a Randy substitute type of character, and she does get to talk about the rules of a franchise in this one, which I have fun with. I always look forward to the rules segment in any of the Scream films, no matter what it is that we're talking about. So now we have Tara, and I like where her character is at in this one as well. I think that it is, pretty relatable to be where she is in this one. She's more trying to just forget about what happened in Woodsboro. She's not letting that define her. And, Sam wants her to take more, you know, important measures to try to work through all that trauma by like going to therapy like she is and stuff, but she's not really doing that stuff. She is kind of just, going out to parties and trying to maybe hang out with gross frat guys and stuff. But I think that it makes sense where she's at with it. And then Sam, I think that she is a lot better of a character in this one. She's more thought out, and I like that she is putting in the work and going into therapy. And side note, I will talk about her therapist alongside her as well. He sucks. I don't think that he's a good therapist at all for her. And again, he's just basically a nothing character in here. But I like that she is taking those steps to try to get better and stuff. And one thing that I didn't talk about in my Scream 5 video that I just decided to save for this one would be all of the stuff about her seeing visions of her father, Billy Loomis. I think that she is really trying to work through all of that stuff in this one in particular. I don't like the Billy Loomis visions that much. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Ghost Mom stuff in Scream 3 either. I don't hate it. I mean, I don't hate the stuff with Billy either. It's nice to get to see him again in this franchise in whatever way we can, but I could do without, that storyline in both 6 and 5, as well as the Ghost Mom stuff in 3. But I think that it is better used in this one. Um, I just I think it was a little bit overdone, I think, in Scream 5. Maybe that's my problem with it. But I think that she is just trying to come to terms with herself and what it means for her if she is the daughter of a serial killer and like dealing with all of that, all those negative feelings and wondering if, she's going to become like him and stuff. And I had heard that, had things not gone the way that they did and they continued on to Scream 7, taking off right after the 6th one, that there was a potential that she could have been a ghost face in one of that, or like either the 7th one or, one going forward in there. I don't know how I would have felt about that. I mean, it's an interesting take for sure to have someone that was a heroine in one of the previous films or more than one of the previous films end up being a ghost face. It's certainly something that I wouldn't want to see happen with like Sydney, but I think I would have been okay with it to a certain extent with Sam, and they had been kind of leading up to all that with, how she handles Richie in Scream 5, as well as the ones that are the killers in Scream 6. So I don't know. I get it to an extent, but it is just like an odd way to take it. But I like the idea of her, doing a little bit with what she has been naturally given by her father, Billy, as far as that goes, but not just going full crazy and going on a spree of her own. But I do want to mention one more person that's not exactly in the friend group, but sort of is at the same time, and that would be Danny, Sam's love interest. I love him. I really do. I thought that he was a really good character in here, and I wish that we would have gotten more of him. And I will talk about my thoughts on, how everything went after Scream 6 came out and all the fallout with everything. Not the political side of it, but just my thoughts on that storyline being over with and stuff. Um, but honestly, one of the biggest things that will make me sad about not getting to continue on from here would be the fact that we don't get any more of Danny. Because I really did like him. He's clearly a better love interest for her than Richie was. And I just think that he was willing to stand up for Sam as well as all the others in multiple instances in this movie. And, he was even going to be in that final confrontation at the end had Sam been okay with him being there. So I really like his character, and I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit more, not necessarily in this movie, but in the future of this franchise. But now I do want to talk about one last adult character that we have that I didn't already mention, and that would be Detective Bailey. I love Dermot Mulroney, so I was excited to see him get to be in this film. And I think that he does a good job playing the detective here, and I also think that he does a good job as a grieving father. So we will obviously have to talk more about him later, but we'll go ahead and move on to our legacy characters, and I want to talk first about Kirby. I'm so excited that she got to be a part of Scream 6. She was the best part of Scream 4 for me, easily. And I was hoping that she wasn't dead after that. And, in Scream 5, they did give that little Easter egg that she was still alive. So I was very excited to get to have her back in this franchise again. I like seeing her as an FBI agent. She definitely has that level of spunk to her where I would see that she could handle doing that job. And I also love that she is still quite the horror fan, and she gets to have that awesome scene with Mindy where they're both kind of discussing horror and stuff. And if you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts on that scene specifically, watch my video that came out just a little bit before Valentine's Day called Horror Matchmaker. So the other legacy character that I want to talk about now is Gail. And I feel kind of conflicted about her character in this film. So one thing that I think that they messed up on here would be the fact that in the end of Scream 5, she had said basically that she was not going to write a book about the events of Scream 5 just because she wanted to have those killers just remain anonymous and not give them any type of fame for what happened, especially with like the death of Dewey and everything. But they turn it around, and she ends up doing just that and writes a book anyway about them. I just think that that was a really bad choice. And, I would have been fine with her writing the book on that set of murders, like she did with, all of the things that have gone on in this franchise, had they not said that line in Scream 5 about her wanting to have them be anonymous and stuff. I just think that was a bad choice. And I don't know if you put that on Scream 6 or you put that on Scream 5. But either way, I just don't like that aspect of her character in this one. However, I do like to see her back on her A game and stuff. I think that she is really awesome in this movie, where they have her in it. And I really like the fact that she is on top of things more so than the cops. I just think that is a really common thing with her, but I do like that she was more aware of the little Ghostface museum thing before the cops were and stuff. Well, sort of. But I also really like that she gets her own Ghostface call in this one. And I think that it is a good call at that. I do feel bad for her boyfriend. I don't feel bad about the fact that she has one or anything like that, that she has moved on from Dewey and stuff. I mean, they weren't like actively together in Scream 5 anyways, but I do feel bad for him in there. But I like that she gets to use some good witty remarks when she's on her Ghostface call. Essentially, I can't remember how she words it exactly, but she has a good line in there about like the difference between her and Sydney, which I I feel conflicted about that in itself, just because it is kind of a dig at Sydney, especially with her like not being a part of this film. It does feel a little bit weird, but it does make me laugh what she says, and it's not wrong either. But I also really liked that I think she said that she was going to put Ghostface on hold or something like that. I thought that was really funny. Um, I also liked that she was able to shoot at Ghostface through the wall and stuff. And I just love the setting of that scene in general. Her apartment is so cool. Being someone from a small town, like all this big city stuff that we get with the New York setting is just really awesome, I think. However, I don't really like how she ends up getting stabbed. I think it just seems like she wouldn't have made the mistake that she did. That's not like my version of Gail, I guess, in my mind. But overall, I do like that scene, and I just like her character in here as I like her in all of the films. But I do want to say just a couple quick things about our other legacy characters that don't get to be in this one. We'll start with Sydney. So I'm glad that they at least put in a little line about her, you know, how she should get her happy ending or whatever they said. And I'm going to be very annoyed in Scream 7 if they don't do some kind of thing similar to that in regard to Sam and Tara, since obviously they're not going to be part of that. But then the other one that I want to talk about was Dewey. And obviously, he is not going to be in this franchise in the same way that he had been. I mean, unless they go full Halloween with it and retcon a lot of the stuff that happened. Um, but I really liked that you still get to hear Dewey's theme in here in the scene where they're in the Ghostface Museum for the first time. It's just a nice little way to put him in here without him actually getting to be a part of this film. So now I just really want to talk about some of the standout scenes in here. That is something that I think is very important about Scream 6 is that there are so many awesome scenes beyond the ones that I've already talked about. The first one I want to talk about now would be the bodega scene. I do just think that, convenience stores and bodegas and stuff like that, they're kind of creepy just because of the fact that you could have anyone come in and try to rob the place at any time. So that already just makes it a little bit of a scarier setting. But then you have Ghostface coming in there, and it's just honestly terrifying. You get to see him really in full glory in this one, I think. But I know a lot of people talk about the fact that he gets a shotgun in here. I don't see why that is any kind of issue at all. There have been guns present in every single Scream, usually wielded by the Ghostfaces at one point or another in here. And yeah, maybe not a shotgun, but I genuinely don't see why anybody cares about that at all. But I think that scene is really well done and really scary as well. So the next one that I want to talk about, and the one that I think is definitely the standout for the whole movie, and that would be their apartment scene, and more primarily when they are trying to escape their apartment and go over to Danny's on the ladder. So even before that part of it, I do think it's really scary as well because, Danny sees Ghostface in the window and he is trying to alert them and they're just not getting it, and he's just obviously getting more and more worried and they don't have any idea what's coming and stuff. But then they finally do, and I think that it's just really terrifying, honestly. And when it comes to like Annika and her death, I feel so bad about it. They definitely did not want to kill off a lot of people in this film, and she ends up getting the worst of it for sure, other than like the ghost faces, I guess. But she gets hurt really bad before they even start doing the thing with the ladder. Um, and then when they actually do have to try to go over to his apartment, there was no way that she was going to survive that. It was pretty obvious. Um, so, I mean, it was a good thing that she went last because she was already very hurt at that point anyway. But that scene is just incredibly tense, and it is easily one of the best in the entire franchise for me. It is like right up there with the scene in Scream 2 where they are trying to get out of that cop car. Those are just incredible scenes in the franchise. But moving on to another one that I really like. It's not really played for anything scary, but it is just seeing the Ghostface Museum. I mean, first and foremost, I really like that it's a theater that they're at for that, but getting to see all of that memorabilia is so cool. I really like all the fan service type stuff when we get it in different movies, so this all works for me. Being a huge fan of the franchise and seeing like just even the outfits that some of the killers wore, or like the um, TV that killed Stu Macher, if you believe he's dead, and like Kenny's camera, stuff like that. It's all just really cool to have this all in here. And then the last scene that I want to talk about before we get to the final confrontation and the unmasking of Ghostface would be the scene on the subway. And this is another one that I don't know if it's necessarily fan service, but there are so many amazing like horror references in people's costumes and just references to other things as well. I really love getting to see all those different costumes, and I swear it's like every single time I watch this movie, I find different ones in there than what I did the last time. It's just really cool. And the subway is definitely something that freaks me out. The one time that I was in New York, I refused to go on the subway because of Final Destination 3. Um, but this is another contributing factor as to why I would not want to be on a subway either. Especially at Halloween, you have all those people in masks, so you don't really know who you're with and if they're dangerous or anything. Um, and I just think that it is really scary for Mindy in particular, since she did get separated from most of the group and she is only left with Ethan, who is at that time her prime suspect. But I just love how the lights are going on and off and Ghostface is getting closer and closer, and it's so well done and so scary. But one thing I want to address before I get into that final confrontation scene, um, and it's a problem that I have, but it's not really about the movie itself, it's about the marketing. And it's the fact that we had seen um, spoilers for that subway scene and some of the bodega scene as well in like the trailers and stuff. It's been a long time since I've watched the trailers for Scream 6, but I know that they definitely had some spoilers for at least those things in there. I think that they need to be better, not just the ones that are doing Scream, but like all of the people doing horror movie marketing and stuff, to not give away too much. Like, just give a little bit of the scene, but don't show like major characters getting harmed or anything like that. Like, we don't want that much of it. We just want to know a little bit what will get us, with our butts in seats and stuff. But let's go ahead and just start talking about that final confrontation and the Ghostface unmasking stuff. So I am glad that it took place in the Ghostface Museum / theater, just because that was a really cool set piece in here. And as far as it goes, first I just have to say, how is Chad not dead? I mean, I'm glad he's not because I adore him, but how? He was just hurt so many times in this, um, you know, final confrontation part, and I genuinely do not understand how he survived, other than plot armor. But I do have to say that when both of those ghost faces that are attacking him stop and then wipe their knives, oh, chills. That's such a good part, to see them doing that in tandem. I love that for sure. But now we can talk more about actually seeing who the ghost faces are. I don't like that, they were trying to have that be pinned on Kirby. That is not cool at all. Don't do that to my girl. But I don't think that it was very surprising that Dermot Mulroney's character was one of the ghost faces. He is a bigger name, so it's kind of cool to put someone like that in, one of the ghost face masks. Uh, but I think that he actually did a really good job as Ghostface. And I know a lot of people think that his, portrayal after that he's Ghostface is really hammy and stuff. But I don't have a problem with it at all. I think that he does a very good job here. And then when we start getting to unmask the other two, I don't think it was surprising for it to be Ethan either. Like I said, he is very boring. There's like really nothing to him, so there had to be something else going on there, and obviously it's the fact that he's Ghostface. And then we have Quinn, and that one was a little bit more surprising in a way, at least. It does make sense that she might have been another Ghostface since her father was. Um, but at the same time, we did kind of think she was dead at that point. That's happened in the franchise before, though, so you never really can know for sure if the person's dead until like the end of the film, really. But I like her as a ghost face as well. I think that she is very creepy and unhinged, especially like when she gets some teeth that are knocked out and stuff. It's just very creepy for sure. But when it comes to uh, actually taking down the ghost faces, I think that it's, you know, entertaining to see all of them get taken out and stuff. I will say that there is one scene that I think is just purely stupid, probably one of the dumbest scenes in the franchise, and that would be where I'm pretty sure Detective Bailey has a gun, and Sam just ends up running at him, and he runs at her when he could have easily just shot her and stuff. And I think he does shoot the gun after the fact, but he doesn't hit her or anything like that. It's bafflingly dumb. It really is. It doesn't like hurt the movie for me or anything like that, or like the final battle or anything, but I do think it's really weird. Um, I do like that Sam gets to put on her father's, Ghostface costume and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. I will say that I do think it's a little bit over the top how she kills Bailey. Uh, and it doesn't like bother me or anything, but it's kind of gross. And as far as like their motivation goes, with the fact that Richie had been killed by her previously, I almost like enjoy that version of like family revenge more than in Scream 2. And I think it's just the fact that, none of that should have ever happened, because if your husband cheated on you, why would you leave your child, even if they're almost grown, like Billy was? It never worked for me as much. But with this one, it's not because of like family turmoil that Richie did what he was doing. He just wanted to have better stab sequels, which is crazy. But I mean, I kind of get it when it comes down to, some of the horror movie sequels that we do get being really dumb sometimes. But yeah, it honestly works a little bit better for me than the, family that they're trying to avenge in Scream 6 than it does in Scream 2. But now I just kind of want to talk about, how everything kind of fell out as far as the Scream franchise goes after all of the stuff with the firing of Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega dropping out and stuff. So, like I said, I'm not going to get into the politics of that, but I am genuinely sad that we don't get to see the end for these characters and stuff. I don't know if they would have taken it in a direction that I liked, if Sam would have ended up being a ghost face or anything like that. I don't know how I would have enjoyed that. If it would have turned out well, or if I would have just thought it was not good at all. But I am sad that we're not going to get that. However, I do kind of hold out hope that one day maybe we could get a continuation with them because, at some point the Scream franchise is going to change hands. It's not always going to be with the same company forever. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to potentially see them again. But like I said earlier, I do want them to at least address their absence in Scream 7. I think that's very important. Even if it's just some really small line like it was for Sydney's absence in Scream 6. Um, and I do just have to say, I obviously miss Sydney in Scream 6, but it doesn't hurt the movie for me. I still have a really good time with this one. I think that, you know, with all those amazing scenes that it has, this is honestly one of the better sequels out there. But I do want to know your thoughts on Scream 6 down in the comments. Is it a sequel that you like a lot, or is it one that you think is overrated? Just let me know all your thoughts on it down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it and consider subscribing if you haven't yet for more horror content. I do post 2 new videos each week. You can follow me on Instagram for updates on my channel as well as additional horror content. You can also follow me on Letterboxd to see what I have been watching lately and my brief thoughts on any of those films. If you would like either of those, they are linked in my channel description for easy access for you guys. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting me so far. It doesn't go unnoticed. My name is Devin. This is Carpenter Hill. Thanks for watching.